So taking this time to consciously set up the mind as we move into our mindful mode, the mindful mode, the mindful mood, the mindset of mindfulness. Our eyes gently closed, helping to bring awareness within, consciously breathing out any stress, tension that may have been building in our body over the happening of the day, the happening of the week so far. Consciously relaxing, releasing, letting go, and particularly putting aside, disengaging from roles, whatever those roles might be, roles that come with responsibilities, obligations, duties, stress, and thinking. The engagement of the mind into thought and self through the use of roles. So for this time now, no need for roles, no need for thoughts, allowing the mind to settle into a calm, conscious, knowing awareness, becoming more collected, focused, concentrated in the present moment. And before bringing mindful attention to the naturally occurring sensation of our breath, our reference point for the present moment, just feeling into the body, grounding awareness in the body, this first foundation of mindfulness, mindfulness of the body. Sensing, feeling the body sitting, mindfully registering a few contact sensations, reference points for mindfulness in the present, feet against the floor, the body against the chair or cushion, hands connecting in the lap, sensation of hands and fingers. Maybe sensing our face, subtle air, a breeze against our face. And also noticing subtle light coming in through the closed eyelids. Looking into that lightness, brightness, blankness. And not being distracted or disturbed by any background sounds. And particularly not being distracted or disturbed by the internal mental sound or sight of thoughts. Moving the mind offline, so to speak, from the activity of thinking, and consciously attending to the present through noticing each soothing, therapeutic breath. Focusing attention, sustaining attention, feeling each breath. Developing calm, clarity, peace and presence. Please help yourself to some tea if you wish. Do you know who they are?
Doesn't say.
This evening, given that we're a smaller group, I wondered if you'd like to use this time for asking any particular questions. Questions about your meditation practice, questions about Buddhist practice in general, questions or comments about any readings, podcasts that you may have been engaging with. Peter?
I've got one. I notice sometimes when I'm meditating and my mind seems to be very active, and I'm sitting there and all of a sudden I just like snap out of it and can stand up and go away. And sometimes I sort of resist it and try and calm my breath down and I stay there and I get back into meditation again. Other times it just my mind's just too active and I don't feel like I don't even feel like trying to settle down.
Right. So how do you know it's active?
Because it's thinking about something.
So thinking.
I snap out of it and I'm thinking about something relating to a work thing I'm doing or some issue that's around. Usually I'm aware, I snap out of it. Because it happened, my mind's wandering, drifting off. And
do you have a sense of how long the mind has been thinking for before you realise it?
Sometimes it drifts on for a little bit.
Ideally to not stop the meditation, but to stay with it and put in extra effort. So samma vayama, right effort, putting in extra effort to connect into the present moment, connect with the breath, and to consciously disengage from the thoughts, even though they may be quite important outside of meditation. Self in a work role or relationship role or whatever it might be, but it's like not now. It's just like this is a time for meditation. And certainly the Buddha said that one of the most important and significant things a human being can do is to cultivate the quality of their consciousness, particularly through meditation. So it's a really important, powerful activity to be engaged upon.
Quality of what, sorry?
Of the mind. Yeah. So developing and cultivating the quality of the mind, because that's the only way that we can enhance mindfulness, and then also to find freedom. So, which is more important than thinking during meditation, because ideally we can think after meditation, and maybe having spent that time to calm and clear the mind, developing clarity and focus, then the thoughts will be more clear-minded, more objective, more creative, more worthwhile thoughts. So it's like, okay, that's important, but I'm going to use this time to calm and clear the mind so that I can think more consciously outside of meditation. And that can even be a bit of a focus before you go into meditation, that this is my time for settling, centering, calming, clarifying, being, breathing, knowing. I can think later, and I'll think better later. So making that sort of aspiration, affirmation, intention. And obviously it's a habit because most of the time, most of our waking hours are thinking. So we hardly have less time, or hardly have time when we're not thinking about something. And I mentioned before that life is becoming increasingly empowered with thought, such that there's less space between thoughts, less space in the mind, hence the stillness, silence, spaciousness that we need. And we're busier, externally, internally, more things to think about, be concerned about, address, deal with, focus on, fix up, change, modify, worry, etc. So it's like, wow, we need to actually practice meditation to have at least some time in the day where we're not getting caught up in thinking about stuff. So again, it's like getting motivated and go, this is my special time, not to be thinking. But again, it's a habit, and particularly the two qualities, vitakka, vichara, the Buddhist words initial application, which is like putting the mind onto the reference points, object of meditation, such as the breath, and then vichara, sustaining attention, putting in the effort to sustain, keep the attention there so it doesn't slip off. And in a way, these two qualities, for me, I find it's a bit like when I was a child, teenager, at home, at school. I used to saw a lot of wood, and sawing wood for the fire, or in school making things. And if we were going to make something and needed to saw maybe some hardwood in half, sure, you can put a saw there in the middle somewhere and start sawing, but the saw sort of jumps around, it tilts, and it sort of makes a big gash, and it's difficult to saw it. The way to do it is obviously maybe draw a line if it's a piece of furniture we're making. Put our thumb there, and we put the saw there, and we really just focus in on that little bit there. We're not sort of big swings, but just focusing and putting in the effort to get a groove going. Once we've got a groove going, we can relax the effort, and the saw just stays in the groove and follows the line. So it's putting in the initial and sustained attention, effort to keep the mind on the breath, and then it stays there. Might only be like 2 or 3 minutes to begin with. Get that groove going, and then it's there. And it can save more energy, because bring it back, it's little especially if we're putting in the time to sit there, but we're sort of bring it back, a little bit of effort in the beginning, and it stays in the groove.
Can you elaborate on that, on the part about sustaining the concentration a little bit more, about any techniques that you use to actually make that happen? So I understand about sustaining it, that's what you want to do, but is there anything that you do within your consciousness
Good question.
that helps?
Sure. I find that what works for me is putting in a degree of effort, and effort is energy plus intention. So the intention's there, sort of the mental idea that yes, I'm going to focus on the breath, and then putting in the energy. So energy plus intention makes effort, and such that I would get a subtle concentration sensation around here, sort of the third eye area, sort of around here. So I'm focusing on, a bit like if you were doing a task that required you to really focus. It's sort of like you're putting in the effort. You can feel a subtle sensation there. It's probably a neurological thing going on there. And that tends to sort of help the mind to stay there. And then once the mind is more collected energy, connecting to the breath and concentrated, then you can reduce the degree of effort. Don't want to end up with a headache. And also particularly sort of looking into that sort of blank screen in front through the closed eyes, because often what's happening, and for you, Peter, maybe to note whether you visualize thoughts, you see it as an image, or you hear more auditory, hear a voice. But particularly if you sort of tends to sort of see images, more visual, then looking into that lightness, brightness helps to not have the images, the movies playing. If we find that we're more auditory in terms of our thinking, then that's where having a mental word or two, a mantra, can help to block the thoughts. So whether it's calm, ease, or mindful, the mind sort of saying that, which is a sort of thought in a way, but it's not a thought that's going to lead to stories and past and remembrances and a whole lot of stuff. Keeping it simple. Another technique that you can use is counting the breaths. So counting just up to 5, so sets of 5. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 1, 1. The idea is to get to 5 without thinking. If you start thinking, then you need to go straight back to 1. So the goal is to get to 5.
Yeah, I sometimes do that, and then do the breathing and Budo and some of these things, rising and falling, physical and mental phenomena. That's the first one I used to do years ago, and I sort of did Budo for a while and breathing in and out. Yeah, finding sort of strategies that work. Not doing too many, otherwise it becomes sort of like, oh, shall I do this one or shall I do that one? And that one used to work, and just sort of, and where was I when I did that meditation? Oh, that was back in Sydney. That was, back into the stories. So keep it simple. Brendan? What you're saying about when you start the meditation, sitting down and say, right, this is my time, and I'm just going to focus and avoid distractions. Might look at that.
Because certainly the Buddha spoke about thought, right thought. Thought's important. And we're more likely to have conscious, clear-minded, considered, creative thoughts if we've had some time for not thinking. TFA, thought-free awareness, and therefore we can have more CCT, conscious consideration time, so that we use thought in a more skillful way. But if we're not having any time that there's no thinking happening apart from sleeping, then we're not exercising the brain, parts of the brain that are involved in just being aware, sustaining awareness, and we're not being able to perceive a domain of being that's beyond thought. So it's really special to get motivated to perceive a domain of being that where thought doesn't intrude, that inner stillness, silence, spaciousness, that deep peace, presence, and that's the path to liberation. Not solving the world's problems.
Yeah.
Brendan?
I've found that I've tried different techniques, and they'll work for a little while, but then the brain kind of gets on autopilot with it. It kind of gets used to it, and then the thinking starts happening more again. But what I've been trying lately is just a lot more letting go, and trying to have no expectations at all, but just thought, okay, let it go. And I found that doing that now, my meditation seems more consistent, so I'm not trying to force something or trying to get something. I'm just letting go of what is happening. And so I seem to be able to now get to a point where instead of trying to find that peace or find something in the meditation, it finds me.
Mm.
So I'll just be there, thoughts popping up, letting go, relaxing, letting go, and then the peace is just there, and the breath is just there,
Yep,
and
yep.
everything else is kind of disappearing.
That's good too, yeah.
Yeah.
So the letting go is important, especially if
Mm.
thoughts are sort of coming up. Ajahn Brahm's very much, in terms of developing and deepening meditation, about not forcing, which is good as well. But I feel that there needs to be the right balance, not too much, not too little, sort of right effort. And one of the things that he mentions is you can say in your mind, not my business. So even outside the meditation, yes, this is very much your business. It's your work, it's your relationship, it's your issue. But in the meditation, not my business. And so it's sort of like you're developing an immunity so that you're what I call Teflon psyche. So the non-stick mind, just nothing sort of sticks or gets caught into it.
Yeah, that's definitely how it's starting to feel. That, you know, I can just recognise that those thoughts are coming up, but then not be attached to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, let them slip away.
Yeah. So it's even interesting to notice how the mind tries to personalize and create story, and therefore it's creating time. I'll do that later. So suddenly we've now got the future, and we've got me in a role doing something later that relates to something else that might be quite meaningful outside of the meditation. So it's like that's where samsara, that's where the world is happening, in that mind moment where the world is, encroaching and happening, and we're sort of creating a sense of story, a narrative, a reality for me to sort of be into. And so even just being able to see that and not be attracted, distracted into that. So rather than a moment of samsara, it's a moment of nirvana, sort of detachment, not interested, letting go, peace, not sort of making self and making a place, a world for the self to be into.
I've been trying a little experiment as well, so kind of along with the Vasa retreat. So talked before about different TV, what you watch on TV and stuff, and I noticed a couple of times, watching something that my wife or kids were watching and be quite violent or disturbing. My wife watches some really strange documentaries about people that have been abused or got into cults and all this weird stuff going on. And so I've been really conscious about what I do watch on TV and trying to watch stuff that's not really like a documentary or something that's no movies and crazy TV shows with lots of violence and sex and stuff that is potentially disturbing, just to see if that helps calm a lot of the stories. And I definitely feel that has had a positive effect. There's not that extra distraction of those sorts of things popping up in your head with everything else.
So the more we meditate, the more we can see how the mind can very much easily be infected by the various inputs. Again, like even just watching the news on TV, it does have an effect, and people become sort of somewhat bland to it. They don't realise how much it is affecting the mind and how you feel and tension in the body and what you then think about, what you might then be talking about. But the more you meditate, you have a sense of the importance of looking after the mind, keeping it as calm and clear-minded as possible.
John, I have a question about enlightenment. Clint and I talked about this last week. To become enlightened, do you have to die?
No.
I think we had this idea that you passed away and became enlightened and then didn't re-enter into incarnation. But how was the Buddha enlightened and then remained alive?
Yes, yes. So he was enlightened at the age of 35, and then lived for another 45 years and taught.
Amazing.
And in his lifetime, many monks and nuns and lay people also became fully enlightened and lived out the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So it's not something that only happens when you die, but what happens when the body dies, then there's no more energy that wants to sort of be personalized and become into. I want to have another body. I want to be a self because I still want to eat those things and go to those places and see these people and fulfill things. There's no more desire or becoming in that sense. So it's yes, significant when a fully enlightened person, because there's levels of enlightenment. There's 4 stages of enlightenment, but when a fully enlightened person dies, then there's a sense of like the candle's gone out. It's not being transferred to lighting another candle from that one,
Yeah.
and then that one goes out, but we've still got the flame here,
Yeah.
countless flames, but it's more just it's finished.
Yeah.
And more suffering.
No more suffering.
Mm.
And certainly the more aware, wise, enlightened a person can be through the course of their lifetime, then there's a less and less stress, less and less suffering. It's like the more mindful we are, then there's just less complications and less confusions and less conflict and less suffering in life. So obviously the more wiser and enlightened the person becomes, and that becomes there's more peace and more ease and less stress, and so that's the goal in Buddhism.
Just going back to a comment about letting go, I find that through practicing that in my meditation, when I am thinking or worrying about things too much, in normal day-to-day life, that I'm able to let go of that more easily as well. Recognise, this is not really productive or helpful thinking.
Yeah.
Or even this is not my business.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. But the egoic self likes to worry because that gets a sense of confirmation. I am so worried about this. Actually, I'm very worried, which is sort of a bigger self. Or and why aren't you worried? Don't you care? But it's more like to see that worry in itself is not really a helpful state. It's founded in mental state of anxiety, which is founded in fear and caught up in basic ignorance as regarding the self-concept. And solving any problems from worry is not really healthy, because often people make the wrong decisions. If I'm so worried, we'll do this, and now I can relax, I'm no longer worried. But was that the right decision? Well, maybe not. So a calm, clear mind is the best way to solve problems. Have a healthy sense of concern and care, but not worry.
I guess it's a matter of just trying to be prepared if you know that something's going to happen where I might need to be able to react with wisdom.
Respond.
Be prepared for it so you can respond, but don't spend endless amounts of time worrying about every possible scenario that might happen.
It's like in being a healthcare professional, if you're responding to someone that's in need, if one starts to worry about them, then that distracts and detracts from the mental functioning to be able to remember information, to be able to be attentive to what's required. If one's worrying, one's starting to get emotional, and that can then affect one's objectivity and clarity for doing the best job. Any other thoughts or questions? All good. little verse to end with. One of my favourite verses from the Dhammapada, collection of teachings of the Buddha. So it says, a healthy mind is the greatest gain. Healthy mind is the greatest gain. What's the rest?
That's good enough.
A healthy mind is the greatest gain. A trustworthy friend is the best of kin. Unconditional freedom is the highest bliss.
Yeah.
So we'll go for that unconditional freedom, highest bliss.
Freedom from desire.
Yeah.
I have also found that one of my favourite things that you've taught me is equanimity. I find that that's the best antidote for worry.
Yeah.
If you start becoming worried, and you can just look at a problem with equanimity, even just that word is really triggering for me in terms of being like, you've entered into worry. You just need to look at this with a little bit more clarity, with a bit of wisdom and a bit of understanding.
Wisdom and compassion.
Yeah,
That sort of balance. So that's equilibrium.
Yeah.
Sort of to be equanimous, to have equilibrium, to have that sort of calm equality that can then sort of engage into situations and can accommodate more.
It's very accommodating, but also very calming.
Yeah.
My two favourite words in the English language is equanimity and qualia. I love those
Qualia,
two words.
okay.
What is qualia?
For the quality of the experience.
Oh, the qualia, yeah.
Is that right? Is that qualia? I think it's the quality of the
Yeah,
experience.
it's often a term used in philosophy. Qualia.
I don't know where I came across it. Might have been. It's just I really like that word. And what it means.
Yeah.
That's one we can look up.
Yeah.
New words for the day.
Yes. Good. Well, thanks for coming out tonight. We might have more people next time.
Yeah.
It's all good. Enjoy the warming weather. So next time we meet, it'll be spring.
Oh,
Sort of officially, 1st of September, spring, even though it feels like it's already arrived. Good. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.